There's only one thing you can say about this race. Holy shit. Yo, what's up everyone? My name is Jet. Welcome back to episode of MDK Racing Victory Stop. What an opener to the round of 8 for the NASCAR playoffs. Las Vegas delivered. Absolutely beautiful. That was such an awesome race. So much went on. We had strategy, crashes, playoff drama. I mean, whatever you could want in a playoff style of race, you got it with this one. I believe only 3 playoff drivers, William Byron, Christopher Bell, and Joe Logano, they were the only ones that had nothing happen. Everyone else either crashed or had some type of issues going on. I mean, let's start off with Tyler Reddick, the big accident, the big one, whatever you want to call it. That was one of the big points of this race, happened very early on in the event. Now, very early on in stage 2, Denny Hamlin was trying to play, a little bit of strategy. He stayed out on old tires while other drivers like Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, they pitted and got put in the hornet's nest. They were trying to fight their way up towards the front. And while that was happening, Tyler Reddick was in a battle between him, Chase Elliott, and Martin Truex Jr. and off for turn number 4. Truex, he got a bit tight. Let off the gas. Then Chase Elliott got a bit aero tight. Reddick goes in the wall. Reddick spins, hits Chase Elliott. Chase Elliott then hits Brad Keselowski. And then Tyler Reddick hits the bump, goes up in the air, does a full flip, lands back on all 4 wheels, and actually kept the car driving for a little bit, driving into his pit stall. But it was a tremendous, odd, unusual accident. It reminds me of Joe Nemechek when he flipped at Nashville, I think in 2009, and kept the car driving a little bit after that incident. But it was such a wild, random accident to occur. And we've seen it happen so many times where drivers just get tied off at turn number 4, and the driver that's on their outside gets the bad end of the stick, hits the wall. But that incident took out 2 big names, Reddick, the regular season champion, and Chase Elliott, who was one of the more consistent drivers in the regular season, all basically out like that. Now, Denny Hamlin, he just had a weird day. I mean, his car was just not good. He was all over the place. I said he started up front in stage 2 because in stage 1, his car was just not good, was all the way to the back, was trying to use some pit strategy, to his advantage, but ultimately ended up 11th in stage number 1, got 0 stage points. And then because of him staying out in stage number 2, he dropped like a rock, lost 26 or so positions. Not that far into the stage run. Then he had to come on a pit road, lost a lap, and basically spent the rest of the race trying to get back on the lead lap, but was able to then use that fuel strategy run at the end of the race to his advantage to be able to salvage his day and end up with a top 10 finish. We're going to get to that in a little bit. Now, Ryan Blaney, he started out the race already on the bad end of the deal. After he crashed in practice, had to start at the back on the backup car, drove his way up to the front, or I should say up to the front, but started in last place, got 10 or so positions early in the race. So he had a real fast car, but then when that accident happened with Tyler Reddick and Chase Elliott, Blaney, trying to avoid the crash, smacks the wall hard at the start finish line. That broke a toe link, and also I think it broke both rear toe links. And he also basically spent the entire rest of that race with a damaged machine, and he finished outside the top 30. So he was already in a bad position with already being below the cut line, and then having this on top of that. He now leaves Vegas in a massive hole, as well as other drivers like Elliott and Reddick. Now, Kyle Larson, on the other hand, he had a fast car, but an issue on pit road. Around lap 125 or so, this was in the middle of a scheduled green flag run in stage number 2. Kyle Larson came on a pit road and had a horrendous pit stop. I mean, 14, 15 some odd seconds this pit stop was. Super duper slow. He left pit road, but then had to come back on a pit road because his 5 crew forgot to change the left rear tire. So they had to come back on a pit road, change the tire because they basically left with just 3 new tires and 1 worn one. Had to come back on a pit road, and by the end of it, he was 3 laps down and also spent the entire rest of that race trying to get back up to the lead lap. Now, he was able to get back on the lead lap right around 60 or so laps ago after Ty Gibbs spun, a car that he was battling with for a good amount of time, which was a very fun battle, by the way. But Ty Gibbs spun, Larson was able to get back on the lead lap, and again, with that fuel strategy run at the end of the race, was able to salvage a top 15 finish, finishing in the 11th position. But up front, it was Christopher Bell. Bell led 156 of the 267 laps. He had the best car by a mile. However, when that caution came out with Ty Gibbs, it happened at an unusual time because it happened right outside the fuel window. So some drivers were going to approach this final 60 lap run to the finish as either go all out and pit and just continue to play on offense, or go on defense, save fuel, and try to stretch it to the end. Christopher Bell, Alex Bowman, and William Byron, there were those drivers that decided to just play on offense. Bell pits, Bowman pits, and Byron pits. Bell was able to come out ahead of Alex Bowman and Byron, but Bell, clearly, he had the fastest car by a mile. You knew that, but he had to make up basically a full lap to catch back up to the leaders. At that time, it was Daniel Suarez, Joey Logano, and Denny Hamlin. They elected to stay out and try and stretch it to the end. And it was such a good battle. Now I got to give huge credit to NBC. They played this amazingly, how they called that final stretch of the finish of that race. Just watching Bell, the lap times he was making, and also keeping an eye on Suarez, that gap between the 20 and the 99 was so much fun to watch. And it was so intense because it was like, Bell has the faster car, but it's like, is there enough time? Or could Suarez be saving himself a little bit? It was such a dramatic finish, and it was such a good race. It didn't have, at that final 60 or so lap run, didn't have in terms of the action, but if you're a racing fan, I don't know how you could not love that finish, because it was such a good race because it had the combination of driver skill and also the fuel mileage strategy. I love fuel mileage races, and a combination of that just produced a very awesome final stage 3 run. And it was even so cool at the end because you would see then teamwork take place. You saw Logano, who was in second, didn't seem to have a car capable of contending with Suarez, but in those final handful of laps was able to find something, and he had help for Ryan Blaney. Blaney was pushing the 22 of Logano to help him catch Suarez, while Bell was getting a push from Ty Gibbs, who had that spin earlier, was also pushing him so that those two drivers could catch up to Suarez. And with 5 laps to go, Logano just got a tremendous run off of turn 4, got alongside Daniel Suarez, and took the lead just past the start-finish line, going to 4 to go. But Bell was just charging. And by that point in time, Bell was within 3 or 4 seconds of the lead, and he was just eating away 7-8 tenths of a second a lap at Logano's lead over the 20 car. On the final lap, Bell was, I think, under a second from Logano, but unfortunately, Bell was just 1 lap too little from catching Logano. Logano somehow was able to hold on to win for the 4th time in Las Vegas, his 3rd win of 2024, his 35th career Cup Series win, but most importantly, he now advances himself into the Championship 4. Last Sunday, he was unofficially out of the playoffs. He was done. And 1 week later, he will now be racing for a championship in Phoenix. And this was also very interesting because this is deja vu, because Christopher Bell, I believe 2 years ago, also finished second. Oh, so close. Either 2 years ago or last year, finished second at Vegas. That would have put him into the Championship 4. And also with Logano, it just seems as though that every even year, he just comes to life. I mean, no one had him, because if you look at Logano's stats, he was not good. Did not deserve to be in the round of 8, but don't hate the player, hate the game. That's the playoff format for you. He is now one of 4 drivers who will be racing for a title in Phoenix. So let's take a look at the results here following this incredible race. So Joey Logano wins. 2nd place is Christopher Bell. You got to feel for him. I mean, led the most laps, just oh so close. 1 lap short from potentially passing Logano for the win. Daniel Suarez was able to get a really good run. Huge credit to the pit crew for that fuel strategy to get him to a 3rd place finish. William Byron and Alex Bowman, teammates, ran out the top 5. Martrick Jr., a good top 10 finish for him in 6th. He had a really good car. Ross Chastain in 7th. Denny Hamlin 8th. How about John Nemechek, one of the drivers that used that fuel strategy to his advantage, in 9th. And Chris Buescher rounds out the top 10. Kyle Larson 11th. Bubba Wallace 12th. Kyle Busch 13th. Look at that top 15. Corey LaJoie and Harrison Byrne. Spire Motorsports drivers Zane Smith in 16th. And Justin Haley in 17th. But that doesn't tell the full story, because he had a really fast car, was up racing in the top 10. 18th is Noah Gragson, 19th Daniel Hemrick, and Michael McDowell, the top 20. Here are some notables. Carson Hocevar 23rd, Eric Jones 25th. Now Eric Jones finishes in 15th, although his team will be penalized later in the week since his right front tire came loose onto the racetrack. That will be a penalty. 26th is Chase Briscoe, 28th Jimmy Johnson, Shane Van Gisbergen 29th, and Ty Gibbs in 30th. And then these drivers: Ryan Blaney, Chase Elliott, Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, Brad Keselowski, and Austin Dillon, who finishes in last because of this accident that took place with 17 laps to go in the stage. Daniel Hemrick just drove it in the corner in turns 3 and 4 and just runs over Austin. Austin smacks the outside wall a ton, huge heavy damage, but fortunately he got out of the car under his own power. And here's a look at your playoff grid following Las Vegas. Like I said, Joey Logano basically goes from out of the playoffs to back in to now he will advance himself into the championship 4 at Phoenix. Christopher Bell plus 42, Kyle Larson at plus 35. William Byron now has a 27-point gap ahead of Denny Hamlin. Regular season champion Tyler Reddick with his crash now minus 30. Ryan Blaney minus 47. And Chase Elliott basically almost a full race behind at sitting at minus 53. Okay, so my thoughts on this race. Now, I'm not going to talk about the playoff format. I mean, again, y'all know my stance on that. I mean, Logano, 3 wins, but a 17.5 average finish. Again, don't hate the player, hate the game. But, I mean, this whole even year stuff, 2018, 2020, 2022, and 2024. If you want to know what is similar to all 4 of those things that I just mentioned, Logano in those 4 years, all 4 years, he won the first race in the round of 8 to advance to the championship 4. I mean, there's something to that. I'm sorry. 1 time, okay, 2 times maybe, but 4 times, 2018, 2020, 22, and now this year, it's happened again and again and again. Like, oh my Lord, have mercy. But that's enough about Logano and the whole playoff format. But I mean, huge credit to him and his team for how they approached this race, because they were nowhere to be found that entire race. If you look back at the broadcast, it was mainly Christopher Bell, Larson, maybe Marchuk Jr. for a little bit there, Reddick before he got in that accident. No one said anything about Logano until that fuel strategy run there at the end. But man, huge credit to that 22 team. And I mean, I did say that, hey, he's in the playoffs now, back in the playoffs, even though he's 8th. This playoff format doesn't reward consistency. You just need a win. And if there's anyone that can give you a win during a time when the pressure is at its all-time high, it's Joey Logano. He is one of the best at clutch performances. So this is not a surprise, but I was not expecting him to win in this fashion. What a race that was. I mean, Christopher Bell, he had the best car, man. I mean, again, deja vu in the past, where he was so close to winning at Vegas, but came home in second, just like that. Just 1 more lap he needed, and he would have been in the championship 4 at Phoenix instead of the 22. But absolutely incredible drive by him. But this completely flips the playoff script now, if you think about it, because you look at those drivers when we showed you the playoff grid. I mean, you look at Reddick, Elliott, and Blaney. Those are 3 very good drivers. I mean, Elliott is minus 53. I know we got 2 races, but when you look at the competition, I mean, I don't know. If I'm Elliott, it's must win. Elliott and Blaney, it's must win. Reddick on borderline. I mean, he thinks he's only like 30 points below the cut line. But when you look at the competition, Byron, Bell, Larson, this is stiff competition, the best of the best. When you are so far below the cut line, hell, even Denny Hamlin, a minus 27. I mean, shit, I'll say this. All 4 got to win. I mean, I just find it very hard, especially when you go to a track like Miami next week. That is Larson and Bell's bread and butter. That's the type of track that you know they're going to be great at. Same thing with Tyler Reddick. That's also a type of track when you're right up against the wall. I mean, it's going to be a very, very fun, interesting final 2 races in the round of 8 because of Logano's win. No one, I don't think, really had Logano in the playoffs, especially this early for the first race. I mean, he went from last to first. It completely flip-flops the playoff grid now from this point onwards, and how it's going to result in these next 2 races will be very, very fun to watch. But like I said, again, overall as a race, I thought it was awesome. Love the race. Yeah, I'll give it a 9. I'll give it a 9, 8.5, 9, around that range, because I was very satisfied with that race. Love that stage 3 finish. NBC did a great job. Lee Diffie once again nailed it, and they did a fantastic job covering the race. But wow, again, I think this had everything you wanted in a playoff race. It had, the drama of the playoff drivers in trouble. It had, the crashes that we saw at the beginning of the race, great racing, fuel strategy, and an awesome finish to cap it off. But yeah, that's all I got to say for this race. Let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Did you like it? Did you not? What are your thoughts on Logano's win? Did it surprise you? Again, let me know all your suggestions in the comment section down below. Until next time, my name is Jett from MDK. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.